But for black folk, it's something different. The stakes aren't the same. David Pepper can go back into the world and be okay. He can travel across the country. And I say this as somebody that likes to drive. I like to drive down south. I'm not comfortable anymore. Even in my neighborhood, I was riding my bike the other day. I saw an American flag in Jersey. That means something, right? And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
note to self. I don't know about this
Oh, yeah.
neighbor. I was like, I was like, let me
Right.
make sure when I see them. I felt a little some ways, right?
Hmm.
Because it is a statement, and I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, all right, this country is something's happening.
Yeah.
And who we elect president with this court, with this Senate, with this House, could change the trajectory of our lives for the next 40 years. So,
Absolutely.
what do we do when we have an 80-year-old man who can't seem to stand upright? We have a very unpopular, y'all can say what you want. I like her. She's nice enough. I'm not mad. Ski Wee, all of the stuff, right? HBCU, Howard, yes. I don't think that she's not black. I do. I think she's a black woman. It's irrelevant, though, because I don't think she has the same energy, nor has this administration set her up to win, in my opinion. Because if you knew you were 80, why didn't you
Right.
put her out there to cape for the policies, to be in different places so she can look
Right.
presidential, give her not just the Easter egg role, but some other role that will make her, now you're sending her to different places. But you should have been doing this the last 2 years so we can get used to seeing her as a leader. I'm
You
just
know,
so frustrated.
you knew at 76 that, even though you didn't say when you first ran that you would you definitively run again, you knew that there was probably a good likelihood that, if things went well, that you'd be back at it. So, maybe you should have thought a little bit more about your running mate. You chose a running mate that could not win a primary in any state, right? And so then how does she automatically become overwhelmingly popular that, then makes her somebody who people will be glad to see you, see in the White House should something happen to you. And, we're just dealing with realities. I don't wish that the man, our president, dies anytime soon, but, Tina Turner just passed away last week at 83 years of age. A lot of people pass in their 80s. And so now we find ourselves in a situation where many people, not just Republicans, but many Democrats did not want Kamala Harris for president. If he wins re-election, or, well, let's not even get there. Let's just say there may be people who determine that they did not want her for president, Kamala Harris, when she was trying to win a primary. Now, if he were reelected, she would become president, but she also would become the first woman president. What do you think the 53% of white women who
Wow.
decided that Hillary Clinton should not be president are thinking about
A
a
black woman.
potential black woman as or black and Asian woman as the first women presidents? Like, so
All
where
right.
was the
Wait.
thinking way
She
back when?
well, Jennifer Jones. She only became black and Asian in the last 10 years because
Right.
she was black for her whole life living in America with an Indian mama. Because you know how racism and race
Yep.
works, right?
Yep.
This is an interesting conundrum, and I'm just curious what the audience thinks because everything you're saying is right. Yet I'm still showing up and casting my vote in
Right.
November for
Because
this
you know the
ticket.
consequences.
I know the consequences, and
Right.
there's no choice. It's a binary choice. Sitting home is a choice
But
for
also
the other
remember,
side.
Biden wasn't a definitive, the vote for Biden wasn't necessarily a definitive vote for Biden. A
Correct.
lot of it was a vote against Trump. And so now what we are all once again counting on is that people will come out and again vote against Trump or DeSantis or whomever it might be because it's so dangerous. It's so perilous for the country. But we also have people who may now come out and be like, well, I stayed home before. I don't know if I really want this possibility, very real possibility of
Right.
this woman who I didn't want as a president.
Oh Jesus. All right.
Um,
So what y'all think? 866-801-8255. Because I see everything you see. I hesitate to say it, but as I understand, those of you who were not going to vote for this ticket. You weren't, and nothing I'm going to say is going to change your mind. And if you're going to vote, you already understand what's at stake. So
Right.
anything that we talk about, but I feel like this is part of the problem of this country that we live in. It's so short-sighted and myopic, right? And being black means you have to see everything. It's almost like being an ant, where you have to see everything. Up, is that horse manure? Oh
Mhm.
no, let me run over here. You know, it's like everything impacts our lives. You know, the water, the air, in a deleterious way. Our children have asthma primarily because of the environment, right? If
Right, right.
we there's an overabundance of that, so we don't have the option to just be cavalier about these things. That I feel the Democratic Party, the DNC,
Hmm.
they're making certain assumptions, and I'm like, there's gonna be a time, Chicken Little, where the sky will fall and we'll let it. And so
Right.
there's a part of me that feels that maybe we let the damn thing fall. Like I don't know, but
Yeah,
it's
but I mean, but the
tough.
stakes are so high now. You were talking earlier with David about the DNC not allowing for a debate, essentially, saying that President Biden will not be primaried. And one of the things that I just wanted to share with you is that part of that is because of the history that since 1972, since we've had primary debates and presidential primary debates, whenever an incumbent has been primaried, the incumbent has held on, but then lost in the general election. Because what can happen is that incumbent really takes a beating. People hold on to that incumbent, but that incumbent takes a beating. And now it's what happened with Hillary and Trump, right? Like Trump just tore Hillary apart. So then you had people questioning whether or not she was better than Trump, and then not voting, disengaging, disconnecting, or even some casting a vote for Trump. That's what the concern is here. If you have him primaried and he still holds on, but now he's taking a beat down,
Mm.
are people going to come out in the general election? And if they do, will they come out for
I,
him?
I know what we must do. I guess I'm just lamenting that, to and I don't want to quote Mr. Vanderbeek, but there's a small minority. We talk about the apartheid states of Florida and
Mhm.
Texas and Mississippi,
Yep.
where they have gerrymandered, cracked and packed their way
Hmm.
into having power for a long time in these places. But I also feel like there's a power structure within the Democratic Party that just makes these decisions, and
Hmm.
they're so up each other's asses that they don't see what's happening in the rest of the country, right?
Right.
100 million people sat home during the last election, not because they're stupid, not because
Right.
they are, politically immature. Some of them might be, but because they just didn't see the need. You didn't reach them. And instead of reaching for Joe Sixpack or Joe the plumber or the 53% of white women, how about you double down on 100 million? How about you double down on black folk who actually made sure that y'all's got Warnock and Ossoff and
Yeah.
Biden? We did that. We did that, right? Double
Um,
down on us and make sure that we're good.
um, just earlier this week here in New York City, on Memorial Day, our mayor gave a speech at the Intrepid, and he cited a recent poll that suggests that only 38% of Americans are patriotic. He went on to say that he is one of those 38%, and added that he thinks that if we had the Pledge of Allegiance recited in the schools, maybe we'd have more patriotic persons. And I appreciate his sentiment, but I thought to myself, maybe what we need to really do, rather than centering on whether the Pledge of Allegiance is being recited in classrooms, is really lean in to understand why those 62% are not patriotic. Maybe it has something to do with uh, voting, voting disenfranchisement and gerrymandering. Maybe it has something to do with us not passing key legislation that protects us against gun violence. Maybe it has something to do with, 7 in 10 Americans struggling to make ends meet. 6 in 10 Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that there are so many people, 1 in 5 people is suffering from anxiety and depression and doesn't have the resources and the supports to get the help they need from a government that says that they're here for you and they're going to do all that they can for you. Maybe it's because of the growing numbers of homelessness, not just in New York City, but around the country. Maybe if we centered on the issues and we were centering on how government is here to pay fair, livable wages and set a fair, livable wage for the nation where people can work and work can pay and they can take care of their families and save for a rainy day, maybe then they'd be a little bit more patriotic. So, you know, my overall on this is that I think the challenge that we have, to your point, is that if we've got politicians who are not leaning in, trying to figure out, well, why aren't people showing up and how do we reach them? How do we see the unseen?
Right.
Who are actually, they're not unseen because when they don't vote, they're telling you who they are.
Yes. I feel like everybody's gaslighting us. Everybody. Eric Adams getting up and saying that is gaslighting.
Yeah.
Because I remember when he was with 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. Who cares? He wasn't talking that then. So has he graduated into this for the donations, for the votes, for the unions? Like, what's the game? Like, tell the truth, damn it. We deserve that much, right? Oof.